Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming out on this snowy night. The first thing that we have is a public hearing, and I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Tom Deichel to walk us through this.
Thank you. Today we're having our public hearing on our $15 million elementary school. We're looking at an annual max lease payment of $1,252,000 per year. It would be a $20 million payback. We're looking at tax increase average right now of about 4.7 cents, and then the max would be 4.96 cents. Average homeowner would pay about $24 increase, and that's basically it. We've already told everybody back in February all the information, so I guess now we can open it up for public comment.
Yes, Greater Clark is required to hold a public hearing on the lease and additional appropriation. If you desire to comment, please step to the podium when I open the public hearing for comments. You should do the following. Raise your hand. When recognized, I will ask you to come forward, state your name for the record, and provide your comments. And we're going to hold that to 3 minutes, and you will give them a warning in 1 minute to go. Okay, at this time, I'm opening the public hearing portion of this meeting and ask those interested in making comments to please raise your hand and let me know. Okay. Seeing no comments, if there's no desire to make any comments on this lease hearing and additional appropriations, I declare the public hearing ended. That was pretty easy. We still have 3 minutes until the published time for the next meeting, so we went too quickly. So, I want to say. While we're waiting for the meeting to open, I can make a couple comments about silencing your phones, please. If you would turn those off. Renee, just tell me when. All right. like to call this meeting to order. This is the March 20th regular meeting, our special meeting. And on our agenda, we were to have a welcome from Principal Straight, and she was going to tell us about, she was going to showcase one of the ensembles that got a gold in competition, and we were looking forward to that, but we thought, well, spring break, it's snowing, we'll move it to the next meeting. So roll call, please show that everybody's here. If you would stand and pledge of allegiance with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First, I need a motion to approve the agenda tonight. Do you have a motion?
Motion to approve the agenda tonight.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Board, any comments or any changes to the agenda? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, it passes. 7-0. Any public comments on agenda items? No? Under board planning, goals, and strategies, we have a guest here tonight, Ms. Jillian Cantu, who is our Greater Clark County Education Foundation Executive Director. Is it Executive Director? Yeah, I think it is, yeah.
It is.
And Jillian is going to tell us about some things that are going on with the foundation and some really exciting things coming up.
Yeah. First of all, I want to say thank you for you all for your service as board members to the Greater Clark County Schools, and especially to Nancy and Teresa for being a liaison through the foundation. So thank you. As Teresa said, my name is Jillian Cantu, and I come from, I have 12 years experience in fundraising. Actually came here from Ivy Tech Foundation, where I was the executive director, and then had 5 years fundraising experience with United Way and Junior Achievement. And then I'm also a Greater Clark alumni, so I asked my mom, hey, do you have any of my old spirit wear? Can you find it, dig it out? Your moms always have that in the closet. So she did. She dug out this, which I could not wear this tonight. I think my 6-month-old may be able to wear this little shirt. But anyhow, I'm proud to be, at that point, a River Valley Steamer, but I've heard the name has now changed to, the mascot's a pirate?
Raiders.
I'm going to get that one day.
Mm-hmm.
So Dr. Mellon and Renee asked me to tell you a little bit about the foundation, and then I'm going to go through the initiatives that we're doing and some of the different fundraisers we're currently having to help support the initiatives. So the foundation was started back in 1999, and it was formed due to the response of getting monies in from license plates from the state of Indiana. From my understanding, the superintendent Pulliam and Sandy Lewis decided to start the foundation, and it is a separate 501c3 with a separate foundation board that governs the board. It was led, volunteer-led, through many, many years, and then we had some staff also airing to help a couple of years as well when support was needed. And several years ago, the foundation hired their first part-time employee, Katie Wheatley, that you all may have remembered. She decided to take another career move, and she's now at law school up at IU. So I was blessed to have the opportunity to apply for the full-time position, and here we are today. So we've grown from just a few $1,000s in 1999 to this year awarding over $120,000 back to the Greater Clark school system. Some different initiatives that we are currently giving back to is all juniors will be taking the ACT testing at school. We also started a new initiative where we are placing elementary guided reading books in all the elementary classrooms throughout the next 3 years. We also give out teacher classroom grants, which a couple people may be familiar with the teacher grants. We help support the academies of Greater Clark. Keys training, work keys testing certificates, and we we sponsored the VEX robotics program. We also award 3 scholarships to seniors attending college throughout the state. And then one new project this year it's a really neat project that I foresee more of it, is we were granted a bequest, and we're now able to give Bridgepoint Elementary about $3,000 a year to help with students that have need. In this class, in the teachers, or a group of teachers actually come together and decide what that need is going to be at Bridgepoint Elementary each year. The way that we are fundraising for the district in the foundation is 2 major events. We have our Champions for Children, which is actually April 23rd. So if you'd like to come, please see myself or Renee, and I'll find you a seat. If not, tickets are $125. But anyhow, we have that major event coming up April 23rd to recognize the teachers, and then we have a golf event in the fall. However, this year, we are looking at a new initiative. Nancy and some board members have come to me and said that they would like to recognize alumni in our community and also recognize some community business partners. So we're going to, it looks like we're going to host a alumni/business partner dinner at this point. So there'll be more to come on that. We're just researching what that will look like. I think that's a great initiative that will tell the district story, what we're doing out in the community. Media sometimes tends to pick up on the negative, so why don't we put some positive out there, and also talk about how the foundation is making a difference, and hopefully garner more private support in the foundation as well. So that's our third part of the bar stool, is getting personal business solicitation dollars in employee campaign. So a lot of times, I'm gonna wrap up, a lot of times people ask me, why do we need to give to Greater Clark Educational Foundation? I pay my taxes, already, I don't have any students that go there. What's the reason? Why do you do this? And I say, because without private support, that student that doesn't have reliable transportation wouldn't be able to take the ACT test. He would have realized that he had a possibility of going to college because no one in his family told him he could do it. Or the students at North Haven who recently competed in the VEX robotics program, where over 70 teams competed. One of their robots quit right before the competition, was right after it passed their inspections. The team had to break half of the drivetrain down and rebuild their robot within 30 minutes. These students were able to take away critical thinking skills, what teamwork means, and how to work under pressure, which we all know. The students there wouldn't have been able to learn that through a book. So I tell our donors, our community, those are just 2 reasons of why. I'm lucky to be able to tell these stories and to share what the foundation's doing. So thank you for coming and letting me speak today.
Thank you, Jillian. Okay, I don't believe we have any policy review tonight. Okay. Budget report, fund monitoring report. Dr. Dykle.
Hello again. The general fund is our first one that we look at. You can see in February we collected $5.5 million, which is our state tuition support. So basically we collected about $50,000 more than our state tuition support, so we're at 5,597. We spent $5,214,000. So we're ending our cash balance right there at $3,712,000 through the end of February. We're projecting $1.5 million ending cash balance for the end of the year in the general fund. In the debt service, we just had a little bit of income come in, no expenditures, so we're looking at a negative $483,000, but I'm not worried about that because we'll take care of that. The pension debt, no income, no expenditures. We're showing a $566,000, and that'll be covered through property taxes. 2018 Capital Projects Fund, we had local option income tax that we get monthly, $62,299. We spent $566,000. Our ending cash balance is $1,664,000. We're looking at about $841,000 ending cash balance in December. Transportation, we received a little bit of income, mainly from extracurricular, and other equipment and overpayments to the tune of about $8,000. We spent $388,000. Our ending cash balance in that fund is $1,278,000. We're looking to project an ending cash balance in December of $169,000. The bus replacement fund, no income came in during the month. We spent $198,000. We have a cash balance of $490,000. We're looking at about $118,000 at the end of the year. And the rainy day fund, we had no income. We spent $3,500. So we're sitting with $4,985,290. Any questions?
Any questions for me?
It's just a normal cash flow.
All right, the next item on our agenda is some information about our tax rates and the bond impact that we'll have on those. And I believe that, Dr. Mellon, you're going to present that.
Absolutely, Board, thank you. About a week or two ago, Dr. Deichel and I had a conversation because I wanted to make sure that we went back to the year when I first started as your superintendent, 2012, and that we took a hard look at some of the financial metrics at that point in time. And just to see over the course of time what has happened, because we have been making investments in our district in the last 2 or 3 years in particular. And I thought this was a very important chart because it definitely shows some important trends. 2012, again, I came in July of 2012. The district assessed value was $2.4 million. It created a tax levy of $11,389,000. The school tax rate at that time was basically $1.04. And for the median homeowner in Greater Clark, we just used the figure that we've been using for some time. It may be up or down depending, but it was about $124,800. The school tax paid by that homeowner in 2012 was $510.69. So you can see in 2013 and 14 a downward trend in assessed value. Remember, we were coming out of a recession at that time frame, so therefore the tax rate went up both of those years to $1.07 and then $1.10 in 2014. So again, as assessed value goes up, tax rate goes down. As assessed value goes down, tax rate goes up. It's all part of a formula that's set and established through the state. But you can see this, our homeowners had to pay $524.28. In 2013, it went up to $539.87 in 14. 2015, you can see that we started an upward trend again in appraised value. The school tax levy was greatly reduced at that time. You can see the school tax rate went all the way down to 93 cents or to almost 94 cents. And then the average tax paid by the homeowner was $459. 2016, assessed value jumped up again, and you can see that trend is happening over the next several years. You can see the levy that was created, you can see the tax rate, and that 2016 to us was really, a base year, and for us to look at, and I'm going to talk about why that is in a minute. But that 99-cent tax rate was sort of the tax rate board that I came to you with Dr. Deichel and said, we want, no matter what happens, we want to keep our school tax rate under $1. We said 99 cents or less. So whatever we do, we want to make sure that we have to, when we're going to look to borrow money, we have to make sure that we're looking at that 99-cent tax rate. And you can see in 16, our median homeowner was paying $484.64. Now, in 2017, the state implemented a statute that basically said if you wanted to keep your spread your tax caps over all of your property tax funds, you had to keep your levy under that $9.9 million mark that was created in 2016. So again, that 2016 was that base year as it related to the state in their legislation relative to the tax caps. If we didn't keep the levy under that $9.9 million, then we could not spread out our tax caps. And that's a huge help to any school system that has that ability to do so. And so that's another reason, again, why that 99-cent tax rate is critical. So think about in 17, we were able to, appraised value went up significantly. We kept that levy below that 9.9 million. Look at what happened to the tax rate. See, the one good thing that's happening, in our area is with the growth, the economic development of our region, the assessed value of all properties inside of Greater Clark's boundaries is greatly increasing. What that does is we don't necessarily benefit fully from some of the commercial investment that's occurring because TIF districts that are around, especially River Ridge. But what it does do is it does increase that appraised value, which then does moderate that tax rate. So you can see in 17 and 18 that our median homeowner is paying $411, $417. That tax rate is down significantly. So the 2018, the $22 million that we asked you to support for the open concept buildings, those funds are figured into this. So if you take a look at it, we are asking for our community to invest in our buildings. We're doing it at a great time because assessed valuation is greatly increasing, which is reducing tax rate. So the individual obligation on every individual taxpayer in Greater Clark has been significantly reduced. And I think that's vital, especially with what's occurring now in terms of moving forward on a petition remonstrance for downtown elementary. That this is the time to do that work because we need to be sensitive to the taxpayer. You can see that we are, and we have been, and we will continue to be. And part of the reason why we have to, not only because philosophically we think it's important, but that base year of 2016 is essential for us to stay under that levy, because if we don't stay under that levy, we cannot spread out our tax caps. So this is just a graph that depicts, in my mind, the fact that if our community feels that we are not being sensitive to the taxpayer and people are paying more and more taxes, school taxes, that's not true. In fact, it's far less than it's been in a long time. And as long as our assessed value keeps climbing, tax rates will still be moderated. Tax rates of 84, 85 cents, school tax rate, that's incredibly low. That's probably as low as anywhere else in our whole region. So I think that this is the kind of information that we need to make sure is communicated, it's out there, that is factual in nature, and I wanted to share this with you so that you had it, and we'll be bringing some more information back to you similar to this in the future. But I didn't know if you had any questions.
I have a comment. When I get my tax bill for my old house on Chestnut Street, if it were that value, my tax bill is going to be a whole lot higher than $417. And I think that's what sometimes confuses folks, is you get your tax bill and you look at it, and Dr. Mellon said my house is worth $124,800. I should only be paying $417, and my tax bill's $1,400. Well, that's because there are a lot of other taxing entities in our county, and like city and county and flood wall and library and I don't know, fire, yeah, all kinds of things. So when someone tells you that their taxes are higher because of things that we've done in the school district, that's just not true. Well said. Very well said.
Well, and also, Board, I believe that this is an investment. It's an investment in our kids. It's an investment in our community. People are looking for, as they're moving or looking for places to move, they're looking to move into areas with homes and with businesses and with schools that they want to send their children to. So at some point in time, and I've said this from years ago, our inventory of buildings overall is very old, and we've had to invest significant dollars in those buildings. And if we want to be attractive to the potential growth that will be occurring throughout our region over the course of the next several years, 5, 10, 15 years, we want them to move into Greater Clark. And we have to invest in our schools. We do it wisely, we do it in a timely fashion, but the time to do this work is now. So I just thought it'd be helpful for you to see this information.
It was very helpful,
I
thank
would
you.
like to make a
I'm
comment.
sorry, Ms. Graff.
I just think it's, we need to talk about with the new downtown school, we need to talk that teachers will no longer be teaching more than one class. That's important for kids. Kids deserve better than that, I think. And I'm very concerned that people are not getting that message, that the only reason I'm here is because I want to make it better for kids. And there's a whole lot of kids in that area that need it better. They are the last people we need to neglect.
Absolutely.
I mean, if my future's gonna depend on this child's being able to support other people, and we need to remember that our obligation as adults is for the next generation to grow. And when we forget that, then we make some bad decisions. And so I'm excited about this. I think those kids deserve it, and I hope that happens.
Well, if you haven't driven in downtown Jeff recently, please do. I've lived there 40 years and I've never seen the outpouring of support for this project. You can't go a block without seeing 3 to 4, sometimes 5 signs. On Maple Street, there's a sign in every yard on one side of the street. So the folks whose lives are going to be most affected by this decision are the ones that are in support of it. And we have to realize not everybody thinks it's a good idea, but the folks that are going to benefit from it and be affected by it, they really want this. Teachers, students, parents, they're all in. All right, student achievement. I believe we're ready for Ms. Pfeiffer. She's going to tell us about our Academies of Greater Clark update.
Speaking of being all in, we're all in on the academy model this year. I'm just going to give you an update on phase 4, which is our implementation phase this year, and a little bit about our scope and sequence of professionally developing all the people to be ready for our rollout in August. One thing that's most familiar to you would be our project-based learning and highly effective teaming training that's been going on more than just this year, over the past year, and Amy Schellenberg has been responsible for that and doing a great job to ensure that 100% of our staff is trained in both project-based learning and highly effective teaming, and that would be across our K-12, not just at the high school level where the 7 components will be in place. Some other professional development that's been going on this year, first of all, comes in our study visits to Nashville. That's clearly our closest site where we can do what they tell us there, which is you need to see it to believe it, and that's very important in creating a vision for what we're about to do. In the fall, we were able to take 8 staff members there to that study visit, and on those study visits, if any of you, I think several of you have been, it gives you a great opportunity to see a couple of high schools where those things are in place, and then also have some role-alike opportunities, and then just opportunities to work with your team on what is the difference in what you're seeing there in Nashville, and what opportunities you have to come back to your own district and implement there. So a good opportunity. In the spring, just March, we were able to take 12 other staff members also to Nashville, and as Dr. Mullen and I have spoken, we plan to continue trying to take 8 for each fall and each spring, so we can continue to create that passion, because there's a lot of passion and commitment and dedication from those troops that are going and then coming back and being able to put that implemented into their schools. Secondly, we in November did a Jeffersonville High School administrative training, and that focused just around the administrators, the principal and assistant principals there at Jeff High, their counselors, and their academy coach. And the purpose of that training was to, first of all, take a look at the differences in leadership style. Because when you go from a traditional leadership structure to that of an academy model, you're looking at things and organizing things a little bit different in your school day and how you run the building and what you're responsible for. So we were able to look at the strengths of each of those leaders, whether it be a counselor, academy coach, or AP or principal of that building. And then before we were ready to leave for the day, we were able to take those strengths and then pair a counselor and a principal in that building that will be directly connected with an academy next year, and they will be 2 of the 5 people in charge of that leadership team of each of the academies for next year. So that happened in November, and then also we met across all high schools and had conversations with the leadership team on what the needs of the folks in the buildings were, to understand more about the academy model to prepare them for implementation in August. And then each of the high school principals worked with their building leadership teams to create an action plan of what would happen during period zeros and staff meetings and other types of things in January through May, to make sure that every staff member, secretary, cafeteria member, custodian had the proper information they needed to be able to implement in August. Also, we then moved into December with academy coach training. And Jessica Sarver and Jason Graves were our 2 academy coaches that were on board then and are still on board. They were able to attend academy coach training with me in Lexington and really get a good idea of what not a college and career readiness person does, but an academy coach, and what that role in that transition looks like. And to be that real liaison between staff members, the business, the community, and how to manage those relationships and help them learn to work together, because clearly the staff, they don't necessarily recognize things as a business person would coming in as they look at curriculum and plan projects moving forward. So just be able to work with both of those entities. And then also they were able to understand how to make sure that the implementation of the highly effective teaming takes place and that they're able to facilitate that within the buildings, and how to use a rubric to be able to monitor that multiple times a year to continue growing those effective teams, and also the implementation of the business engagement piece into the curriculum as we work toward having that engaged piece of relevance to the career topics within the curriculum. January moved us into Charlestown High School, New Washington, and then all of our middle schools and alternative schools doing a training that allowed them to do something similar to what Jeff High had done in November, which was obviously take a look at their strengths and align themselves with the 5 academies and who they would be working with and how that would look into next year. And then also creating a rubric for themselves. There's 7 major components to the academy model, and it was important for them to decide when we're implementing next year, which metrics would mean that we were doing a good job, which ones meant we were doing a better job, and which ones would mean we were doing the best job. So they now have a rubric to guide themselves toward continuous improvement next year that we'll look at 4 times a year. The middle schools also had an opportunity to be in that training. We started kind of immersing them in the situation in January, because we wanted to get the high schools on board first and then bring the middle schools along. They will not be implementing all 7 components, because that would be a true academy implementation, but they've chosen 3 that they will focus on, and then all of our middle schools have those 3 particular components with a good, better, best metric, so that they'll be able to guide their work next year also. We then led into January Academy Counselor Training, where all counselors, 612, and the building principals came to a meeting to learn what the counselor's role would be within scheduling for the upcoming year, and especially the spring. And that has definitely led to a successful scheduling opportunity this spring. All of our students across all high schools have had the opportunity to pick their academy at this point, and then not only pick their academy, but decide which pathway they'll be in for next year. And so they've gotten all that done, and Amy and I are now kind of making our trips to each of the schools to see how that went, because there was a lot of anxiety that too many people would pick this academy and not enough people would pick this academy, and I mean, I can't even go into all the anxiety, but we are happy to report Charlestown decided none of those anxieties actually turned out to be true. So that was our first one, and Jeff High obviously has more to schedule, but with where we are right now, just some minor tweaks are gonna make everything function just right, and we will meet with New Wash as soon as we get back from break. So those things are all working out nicely. Next March, we had Academy Principal Training that happened just recently, And in that, we were able to bring all 612 to the table and make sure each principal, and now the assistant principals are called academy principals, and the principal of the building is called an executive principal, that they completely understood how to run their academy next year and what their goals would be around that academy, to set those with them, and how to progress monitor their goals, and how to get that highly effective teaming and the projects in place. We have coming up in April Academy Team Leader Training, which will bring the team leader from each of the academies across all of our high schools, and also one team leader from each of the teams at the middle schools to the table, and allow them to understand how to manage change. Because when you put people in all of these teaming concepts, it's going to be difficult to understand that significant change and mindset. And so they'll have some tools to lead the teams through that, which are just inevitable reactions that staff members will have, and then also just the stages that teaming would go through and what to expect as they evolve, and then also just some strategies for continuous improvement of those teams. And getting close to the end, Academy Identity Training is next, and that'll also be coming in April when we come back. And each of the high schools will send one academy team to the training, and the middle school will get to send one grade level team to the training, and they're able to take back how to create that identity within that academy with that career interest or that team, and then be able to have that unity brought to them when school starts, with their use of rolling agendas and our data-wise processes and things of that nature, to get a really good start with one team. Hoping then the rest of April and May, we'll take one or two components back and share with the remainder of the teams in the academy, so they'll at least have 1 to 2 things to roll out. Then that same training will occur week by week for all the academies prior to the following school year. Just one note on our alternative schools, I don't want to leave them out. As you know, Clark County Middle High kind of has a revolving door all year long, depending on the amount of time that students spend with them. So we would not want to have a student, really engaged in an academy and those coursework, the pieces of coursework, and then have a segment of time that they need to spend at Clark County Middle High without opportunities. So we've been working with the administration there to make sure we have 3 stackable courses, even though it might be in Plato with online learning, but it would be something that would be equivalent to what they have there. Obviously not as many options, but at least there would be an option in each of the business, or each of the 4 academies. And then also they're working on a freshman seminar class that the students would take there. So it won't be exactly what they're going to experience at Jeff High, Charlestown, or New Wash, but it will be a seminar opportunity. And then at Gordon Porter, we're going to focus in one area, and that's the area of business. And so those students at Gordon Porter will have 3 stackable courses that we'll be working on through the business pathway, and then also having 2 events that would be a full school project-based learning activity. I just wanted to mention, though, that as we've been doing these things, I really couldn't have been able to put all these trainings together, because you've heard that I've had principals out of the building, counselors out of the building repeatedly. Dr. Mellon and Amy and Michael Denny and Travis also covered schools while I've been able to have them here, and they're continuing to do that in April, and that really makes it possible for those people to sit with me and not have their computers out or their phones out, and trust that their buildings are okay while they're here fully engaged. I also want to kind of give props to Erin Bojorquez, because she's been able to come to as many of my trainings as possible, and from a brand tactic team perspective, that allows her to be as deeply engaged in understanding of what's going on. And then, for instance, when we were sitting with the Charlestown New Wash piece, she was able to take their posters that they created on their new structures of who would be working with who, and actually create those right there in a template that's stored in our team drive, to have all of that captured for us moving forward as she was at the training. And then also I've started working with the elementary schools, and just as the high school or the middle schools have chosen 3 components of the academy model, the elementary will be choosing 1 for next year. And Kim Hartledge has been great to work with, and she and I have spent some time with the elementaries ourselves, and then she'll be moving forward, making a good, better, best rubric on that one item that they will make a full implementation over all of our elementary schools for next year. Thank you.
Board, if I may, Kimberly has just done a tremendous job. This takes so much more time and effort than we ever imagined it would. And Kimberly hit the ground running in July when she came on board, and she still is running. And so her leadership and making sure that everything's facilitated appropriately around the district, this is a huge undertaking. And someday we'll talk to you about the difference between pathways. The state talks a lot about is pathways, which are fine, in an academy model. Because academy is pathways on steroids.
Yes.
For sure.
Maybe I'll do that next time.
Maybe next time we'll do that. And again, reminder, board, the funding, when we send teams to Nashville, when we bring technical assistance support up from Nashville to help us, as been alluded to by Ms. Pfeiffer, we are using business support to pay for that. If you remember, when we went to this academy model, we said that we would use business and organizational funds to pay for that, and I'm happy to report that we're doing that currently, and that will continue to be our goal as we implement, because that not only is that good for our district, but it also puts skin in the game for our business and organizational partners throughout. So it's really worked out well. In our last steering committee meeting, we had about 105 or 110 people there, so we have continued energy and support, and of course I appreciate both Teresa's and Nancy for being there as your representatives. Just to see what's going on with the work has been incredible. So.
Any questions at all?
Well, this is on steroids, but you are too. We did a good thing when we hired her, didn't we?
Right.
Yes, you're doing a fantastic job.
I'm just organizing, everybody else is doing the work, so
That's okay.
it's a team effort.
It takes organization, you've got it.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on our agenda is the approval of the consent agenda, and it includes the claims, field trips, travel, fundraisers, and personnel. Do I have a motion?
Madam President, I move that we accept the consent agenda as submitted.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions, comments?
Mrs. Kraft. You made that second.
Oh, okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. All right. Now we'd like to take a look at something that's on the consent agenda. And I'm going to turn that over to Dr. Mellon because we have a special announcement.
Absolutely, Board. We have the honor tonight to officially name the principal of Jonathan James Elementary for next school year. And he has been at Charlestown Middle School for the past couple of years as an assistant principal. He also filled in at Pleasant Ridge Elementary School when a principal was on leave and did a tremendous job. We are lucky to have him in our district. And Jeremy Sharman, would you please stand? We're looking forward to you. Jeremy has made a huge impact. He's a great team player for the school corporation. He makes a great impact on staff, on kids. And no pressure, Jeremy, as you move forward. But you've done a tremendous job. And Adrian Bach will be moving over to Charlestown Middle School as assistant principal. This is something that was fully voluntary on the parts of all parties, and I think will just enhance our school system. We're very happy. Adrian spent 10 years as principal at Jonathan James, did a tremendous job, but she's also looking for some professional moves in her, expanding her knowledge base. So we appreciate Adrian and everything she's doing, and know she'll do a great job at Charlestown Middle School as well. But Jeremy, you have your family here.
Yeah.
Do you mind introducing them?
This is my wife, Laura. She is actually a PE teacher and the athletic director at Gordon Junior High, so an education family. And my son, Cooper, who's a 7th grader at Gordon Junior High, and my son, Owen, who's an 8th grader at Gordon Junior High. So we're excited to come here and be part of this, and it was really exciting for me to have them here. And I want to thank the board and Dr. Mellon and obviously Ms. Pfeiffer, who's helped me move along my career, and Dr. Hartledge. I know she's not here, but you know, I had a really good opportunity to work with her when I was at Pleasant Ridge, and just an outstanding group of leaders that you guys have in this corporation. You know, obviously the person I want to thank the most is Ms. Wesley, because you know, as you guys know, she's moved a lot of talent through her
Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, family, for sharing.
Next on our agenda, gifts to buildings, and I've asked Ms. Zolman, Teresa Zolman, to share that information.
Okay, we have $1,124.25. It's covered Charlestown Middle, New Washington Elementary, River Valley. We want to say something to Jean Bowley. They had $720 in her favor. And at this time, I'd like to make a motion to accept the gifts to buildings.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
A second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody against? 7-0. All right, action items. We're going to talk a little bit about the student clinic agreement amendment. Dr. Dykle.
Yes, back on July 25th, 2017, we were looking at having the nurse practitioners at Jeff High and Charlestown High look at our employees at those two schools. We just thought it'd be easier, they're right there instead of going to our employee clinic. And we thought we could do that, but when Clark Memorial Hospital checked on the licenses for the nurse practitioners, they were only for children, couldn't see the adults. So that now causes us to have this amendment. So the amendment was renewed on July 25th. It included the addition of providing clinic services to our employees at Jeffersonville and Charlestown High Schools. Unfortunately, we are not able to proceed with non-student services. The amendment addresses this change, so we're asking for permission. Mrs. Geldmaker has reviewed the amendment.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those, any questions or comments? All those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. And next is still Dr. Dykle, and he's going to present us the resolutions, authorization for execution of lease agreement, and additional appropriation.
Yes, this is the next step that we need to do for the $15 million new elementary school. We've done this in the past, so we're asking permission to go ahead and approve the resolutions as presented.
Do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we accept the resolutions as accepted.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 7-0. Thank you. All right, discussion items.
Guys, be careful on your way home, please.
Yes.
Is that right?
Thank you, gentlemen.
Came all this way, thank you so much.
Discussion items. We have no discussion items tonight. And reports or requests. Board members, did any of you attend any committees that you'd like to give a report on since the last meeting?
None for me.
Okay. Yeah. The foundation meeting, I attended, thank you for reminding me that I was there. The Education Foundation, which Jillian was just telling us about, we meet once a month, and this last meeting we did some things on budget, looking at budget, and Dr. Mellon did a report about things where the amounts are being spent, and I think Jillian did a good job of summarizing that. The Champions for Children that's coming up, if you've not been, it's a wonderful evening, and it's probably one of the best things that I've ever attended involving the school corporation. The non-certified, the certified, the administrators, recognition. I always have to tell this little story. One night, I guess maybe it was our first one. One of the young men there. He's a custodian at one of our elementary schools, I think it was. And he had his whole family at the table. He was so proud. And he ended up winning that year. And you would have thought he won the Academy Award. His family was so proud of him, and he was so proud, and it made us all just, just filled our hearts. So if you haven't been, please think about attending. Okay. Public comments on non-agenda items? No. Board comments? How about board comments? Anybody?
It's snowing and I want to go home.
Okay. Well, I'd like to make a comment. There will not be a snow day tomorrow. Write it down.
So there.
Will not be a snow day tomorrow. Or a delay, yes, yeah. Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
A motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned. Thank you. Be careful.
See ya. See ya.